So talking about the site, we've got a site that is high side of the road, 15 metres wide, so and 684 square metres. So it's larger than the minimum size, meets the parameters that are required for the low-rise medium density code. So suitable for us to then be able to offer a package on that site. So just having a quick look at it, it slopes. So if you think of it, here's the street. You've got your curb and gutter, your pathway. This is your boundary. So boundary fence, a little bit of brickwork, right? From there, the site slopes up slightly, and what we're going to be able to do is bring a driveway in underneath for a car park, and then to be able to, just diagrammatically put a 2-storey manor house development on it with the 4 apartments. Obviously, we're a little bit not to scale here because the actual slope of land is going to be more sort of like that. I'll try that one again. More like that. So we'll be able to get the cars in the back, cars in underneath. So the key thing for us to be able to sort of look at then is drainage of the car park, stormwater collection, rainwater reuse, solar panels for the orientation. The site sort of runs northwest, northwest. That's a bit odd. North-south. So the solar panels would facing the west, all that sort of stuff.
It's north to the driveway, isn't it?
Sorry. Yeah, the driveway's coming north, coming out to the street. Yeah. Alternative is so there's two, and again, if you look at it, there's a couple of different things that we can do with the design. Looking at our sort of standard designs. On the block, we've got, if that's the block of land and the streets down here. So we have the scenario of a driveway coming in with the car park. You'd have a set of stairs coming out of the car park, and up above you have a foyer with a staircase in it. The ground floor will be split in two, and then you go up the stairs, and again your second story would sit on top. So you'd have sort of 2 units on this side and 2 units on this side, and obviously you got your balconies to the rear. Going that way. Alternative is you can have the balconies sitting out the front as well. So over here, obviously this one will be on ground, but this one will be suspended over the top of the driveway. And then you've got the alternate layout, which actually has a side entrance. So you do the same thing where you've got the driveway coming in, and still you come out here, but what we would do is sort of break it like this and have a set of stairs here. You'd have an entrance into, one of the apartments here and into a second apartment here on the ground. And then when you go up the stairs to the upper level, you do the same thing again. So side entrance, still under the same roof, covered entry, driveway, 4 car spaces parked underneath, etc. There's potential for a pool in the back if you want to do a pool, all that sort of stuff as part of the common property. And again, having this, I actually think this could be a better layout for some people because you've got a 2-bedroom unit and a 1-bedder.
Top and bottom.
So it gives you diversity. And the other thing, if the owners are particularly interested in moving back in here on completion, if they wanted the ground floor, we could actually get rid of that and they can have the whole ground floor back as a large 2-bedder, 3 or even a 4-bedroom unit, and then having income producing property upstairs. Or the alternative is they can strata title them and sell off one or all of them if they really want to.
I think on legislation, the owners come back in, took off the bottom of the floor, and they were able to secure the back of the pool for themselves.
Yeah, it could be set up on the strata title, and they could have that whole ground floor, including the pool, as part of their strata lot.
Have we thought more about the drainage system going the rainwater tank being in the backyard under that balcony or in the basement?
So really the rainwater tank can go in, you know, we could potentially, subject to how our design works, but we could possibly put it into the roof space in the actual foyer. So with the centre layer, where you've got your foyer in this area here, you can drop the ceiling level in that foyer area for the tank, so that with the if you look at the I'll just scribble on this one. If you think that's the building, and then your roof goes up here, you've got your gutters. You know, they've got to would then have to feed back inside and into the foyer area. We drop the roof and we put a stormwater tank in there. That would then gravity feed into, you know, flushing for the toilets, etc. Bit of mucking around in to do something like that, you know, with heights, etc. Probably better to let it drain down either into, you know,
something just out the back,
you know, a tank, an underground tank underneath the paving over here, or there's some room in the basement potentially to put a rainwater tank.
If we've got this set up, then that's one unit that way.
Yep.
That will only have that one balcony there.
Yep.
And or terrace there. We could put a rainwater tank there.
Absolutely.
And level 2 would have that there.
Yep. And that would just pump out to any of them, or underneath the stairs at the front.
Yeah.
You know, it's a dead space effectively. So, you know, we just box that in and put a rainwater tank under it. So there's plenty of options for how we do it, and that'll all be site specific and subject to what the owners are trying to achieve. Size of this lot means we've got slightly bigger than the minimum size requirement. So we're able to put effectively on this one we probably get 4 2-bedroom units into the development. Again, it's up to the owner. They might prefer just a 1-bedder plus study, or just a 1-bedder with a much larger living area. So it's quite versatile in what we can provide them with.
And when it comes to add-ons, what are we thinking in way of landscaping? So if we didn't have the pool, but we had sort of garden areas at the back, or we could go with veggie patches, go with like...
Again, depends, you know, we don't know what the site looks like really, you know, there might be rocky outcrops and things like that. So we're sort of the landscape is very site specific. If we've got a relatively flat yard with good quality topsoil, then we can use that. We could always raise a garden bed.
Raised bed with deep soil.
If the owners were looking to be self-sustaining with their vegetables, then we can bring a garden bed 2 foot off the ground if they wanted to, and they can use that for vegetables, whatever. It's quite open as to what we actually do. Some of the stormwater we can even do absorption trenches to actually keep the ground there as moist as possible through that area. So there's many different ways of sort of addressing the landscape. Obviously solar is an option. It's a great idea. You put solar into something like this, you're able to then run your common area lighting, your car park lighting, the pumps for your reticulation and recycling of your water for toilet flushing and for your garden. It just becomes a great idea that'll save a lot of money over time. Heaps of options. That's the beauty of this. And then on top of that, here we are, within 12 months from signing an agreement, we deliver someone a set of keys for a property without having to go through the pain and suffering of a development application to council.
A 12-month turnaround, being able to knock on the door, saying, look, you need to find a place to live for 12 months and we'll return your keys and
grab yourself a 12-month lease at some other property and you'll be in and out in 12 months.
Grab yourself a lease on another 600 square plus metre property where we can do the same.
And with an option to buy. It's a great option. It's a great option. So to me, it's it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer to move down this path, and if you've got a parcel of land that this is suitable for, then yeah, definitely be doing that.
And if we're going for sloping on the other side of the street now, on the grade down,
Yep.
we are going to need a side path.
Yeah, you have to drive down the side of the property to get underneath with the car parking.
So
So you
we
need 19 metres.
and
That's
15.
15. Yeah. Yeah. So 19 metres gives us sort of give or take 4 metres to be able to drive down the side. You turn in underneath the house. Yep. Yeah, exactly. So you park under.
Same
And
stairs coming up there.
that's in at ground level.
Yeah.
So if you do it from front, you come to the front. With the sloping site going down to the back, you're probably going to need the side entry.
Yeah.
So it's more likely that you would, but it's under the roof in here.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Am I right in saying any of these front units will have to have a door that is either facing the front of the street on that side?
it's most likely it's going to be cut this way.
Cut.
Yeah. Yeah. So all the doorways will be off the driveway side.
Yeah. Foyer.
Yeah.
Or driveway.
Yeah.
Door.
Correct.
Yeah. And how does it look with pumping on this? So now we have a sloping side.
So again, depending on the slope, so depending on the steepness of that slope, we may have to split the roof and drop these units down.
Tier.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, terrace one. And just be mindful of the pump from the bottom.
Yeah. Getting the stormwater out.
Is it going to be something we've got to look at if you're coming back? So if we've got a 19 square, say this is 20, 30. So if this was 600 square minimum, so we got like 30 here, 30 depth there. So we might have, would you say maybe 15 at the
So
back?
your building setback might be, it's a minimum 5 metres, but it could be sort of 7-ish. So you've got 7 there, you've got 30 there, 30. If that's 20 odd, that's 30 odd, that's
We're at
you got
6 and
7 at the front,
12 there.
12, 13 metres,
So
say 13,
so-
yeah, that's 20,
So another 10.
another 10 plus. Yeah.
So we've got 10, we've got a grade at the back at 10.
Mhm.
What do we have to do at the back here? What do we have to be mindful for water?
Oh, it's just water runoff. Yeah, so we might do absorption trenches and things like that. Or, if there's an easement, existing
At the
easement or
back.
something at the back, you can plug into that. Council stormwater assets. Again, site by site. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
But you can see how these type of layouts are able to get we've got the side entry come out here. This is what we're talking about there. So with this type of house, if this was sloping down the other way, you just have your driveway instead of coming in underneath here. You drive it down the side and come in over there.
And just one car park per unit.
Yeah.
No visitor space needed.
No, not required. The other part of it is that you've got again, keep your footprint as small as possible, keeps your costs down.
Yeah.
That's the intention. So we try and simplify the way that it's designed. That then works, from a perspective of the sustainability side of things, where you're not wasting materials. You've just got this straight sort of construction. Still allows you to have the differentiation of the finishes on the outside, so that it looks like a traditional home, a Georgian mansion if you want, whatever sort of appearance.
Streetscape.
Yeah. So you can do anything you like with it to create that, but the intention is not to waste anything. So it's a highly efficient design. We do the 7-star NatHERS rating, the National Home Energy Rating System. 7-star compared to what the standard apartments are that are built out there at the moment, which are all generally in the 4 to 5 range, 4.5 star. So we do high thermal efficiency.
low maintenance, low energy.
Yeah, want the low maintenance. That's the key thing as well with the design that we've got for this, is that we don't want property owners, you know, shelling out cash day in, day out for the lifetime of the building. So everything we do is done with the perspective of minimising ongoing cost of ownership. The fixtures, fittings, everything that we put within the property, it's got a green or sustainable perspective to it. So we don't want to put anything in there that can't be recycled or doesn't come from something that can be regrown and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're going to have points where we've got no choice. You know, we're going to have to use, like for example, copper piping or polyurethane type fittings and fixtures throughout. We have no choice. But when it comes to you know, timber and metal, you know, metal can be recycled, timber can be regrown. It's just a matter of not choosing, you know, old forest timbers, you know, which won't ever be regrown. It's getting the new, you know, plantation type timber that gets regrown over time.
Yeah, that's why we're chasing down the supply chain through the procurement packages. So
yeah, which is critical. That's the important aspect to what our design is.
That's good. It'd be interesting on the recyclability of this.
Well, look at the kitchen. So, kitchen cupboards. You're not going to be able to, in any way, shape or form, in a cost-effective manner, create kitchen cupboards without using either an MDF or a chipboard.
Yeah.
So, we're stuck with that. There's no alternative product that can be, you know, done on a cost-effective place. Then you've got the choice of things like your kitchen benches. So, do you use a piece of stone? All right. Trouble, these stones cut out of a mountain, all the water that gets used that can't be replaced. Can be recycled, but generally far more difficult to recycle. You then have reconstituted stone. That's an alternative because that comes from the byproduct of that sort of cutting process. So that's, you know, something that's appropriate. Resins, not keen on resins because it's just pure chemical. And then you've got timber bench tops. Big, well, here we go. This is a piece of timber here. This desk, not genuine timber. It's a piece of MDF, but you know, it's a piece of timber that can be recycled. Yeah. But we would use, you know, actual timber if we're going to do it. You know, my little tea room in here, it's pure solid timber, you know, bench top. Yeah. So, you know, maybe solid timber. Again, it depends on what the owner wants. Yeah. So, kitchen cupboards, cupboard doors. You know, 2-pack polyurethanes. No, thank you. No. All right. Timber. Great. If the owner wants a timber door, we'll give them a timber door. But ultimately, look, if an owner says to us, we want a 2-pack polyurethane, you know, finished white kitchen cupboard, the owner always gets what they want, but we'll certainly guide them against that from a you know, green and sustainability perspective.
And also where we can.
Yeah, yeah. We don't want to. We're practical with what we do. Our design is about, you know, having a green, sustainable footprint, but the owner ultimately decides what they want to do. So, what do you reckon? Front entry or side entry? What's your preference?
Front. I don't like losing. You lose more on the side, really.
Same size.
Yeah.
You lose a chunk out of the corner, but what you do is ultimately it comes down to the actual land itself. So if you've got a front entry, it's only appropriate for dead flat land, marginally sloping land, or sloping to the side.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's sloping to the street, the side entry is the more appropriate design because it allows you to split the roof halfway. Yeah. To step the roof down to stay within the height limit.
And we've been designing to minimums anyway, haven't we? You know what I mean? So yeah, more options once it's. Yeah. No site's going to be perfectly bang on like 2030s all the way.
No. But what we can do is our standardised designs are priced subject to site inspection and site condition.
Yeah.
And everything from here up, we can cost. We know what that cost will be. It's just what's in the ground and how we deal with the slope.
What are we expecting when the geotech reports coming back from that? Obviously, out of Lane Cove.
A lot of rock and shaly clay, which is good. Solid, sound foundation.
Controllable, a bit more pricey on the cutting in there.
Yeah, but
the surrounding properties aren't close enough to be worrying too much about dilapidation reports and too much damage to the streets.
No, and the beauty of the code is that we've got a 1.5 metre setback to the face of the wall.
Yeah.
So we've got a bit of distance to the side.
Yeah.
And we're not doing a massive cut.
No.
It's not like we're going 2 floors underground or anything of that nature. And from that perspective, if it is rock, fantastic.
If it's good rock,
yeah.
If it's good rock, that's a nice finish when you get it going.
Yeah. Easy to
literally build straight on that.
Yep.
And what add-ons are we thinking?
As in
permaculture, veggie, gardens,
anything of that nature would be
swimming pool.
Additional, because everyone's going to be different.
Yeah.
Every owner's going to have different views on that. Solar as well. A lot of owners are going to go, it costs too much, and etc. etc. And with the rebates available getting smaller and disappearing, some owners again won't see the value in it.
They're the type of things, all the add-ons can be retrofitted anyway, especially if there comes time we complete. They might even sit in it for a year or two, wait for the market to rise.
Yep.
And then they might think of Strata titling it and wanting to offload them. Divest all of them, part of them.
It's a very important factor, the strata titling. So what we do is we design and construct the property all on the basis of being able to be strata titled. So we do that. We don't create the actual title. So we keep it all on a single title so that the costs of ownership stay low, right? But if the owner wants to strata title it in due course, it's something that can be done, or if they want to strata title it and sell it on completion, we can certainly do that for them. So that's an add-on, an extra. So everything will be fire rated between the apartments, acoustics, all the normal stuff that you expect in any apartment development. We'll definitely be doing that.
And thoughts on, be good from a sustainability point to be able to get, or at least look at modular for this.
Modular would be brilliant. Again, the thing with modular is getting a design that's cost effective, and then from there, it's being able to transport that cost-effective design to the site. So if it's on a main road and access is easy, fantastic, really simple. If it's in side streets, windy side streets where it's going to be very difficult for a semi-trailer to get up,
plus
creates a problem.
Plus power lines, plus trees, plus
just makes everything difficult. So, but ultimately, if we're able to do this in modular, you can imagine in less than 6 months you hand over a set of keys.
The beauty on my side when I'm chasing carbon capture and body carbon and everything along the way, the sustainability, the waste, the recycling, the reuse, everything's stuck in one shed and everyone focused, less transport from the boys or the subcontractors, all controlled in one area.
It's an incredible difference from that perspective. It's just making it viable. That's where the in inverted commas problem lies.
I think it's the overall facility, being able to build this on site with no running costs apart from a bit of power and water. They will have their very large storage sheds, gantry cranes, infrastructure and health and safety policies, the lot all running teams on. So the overheads are higher, but this on scale, if we're able to get some scale,
it's going to be massive. Massive difference. So the next stage of our standardised designs, so at the moment we've got the side entry and the front entry for a 15 metre wide sloping to the street. Now we need to do the standardised design for the 19 metre wide sloping away from the street.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's something we'll do in due course. But at the moment, we need to focus on high side of the road.
Yeah.
And then once we've established that and gone through those processes, it's to move forward,
Yeah.
with this in due course.
And we are concentrating on the hardest parameters, the small sides, the less. We are going to pick up some that are beautiful corner blocks, back lane sites, dual entry. We're going to really
put a back lane on that. Your parking doesn't have to go underneath. You can put it out the back. As soon as you do that, the cost just plummets.
Yeah.
So those are the sorts of things that same thing with a corner.
Yeah.
Anywhere where you don't have to put an underground car park is obviously going to be cheaper.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Sure, you've still got the cost of creating carports and things of that nature, but
nothing on basement.
Nothing. The only alternative, again, for an owner to decide, and ultimately it's their decision, is if you do have relay access and you put carports in, so you've got 4 carports, it's going to be 7 metres into your site.
Yeah.
So you lose 7 metres of your backyard.
That's the other
So,
site specific again, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's a real sort of you got to think about. So consider this is for this to the front of the building might be sort of 12 metres, and then to the back we've got another sort of 12 metres, give or take. So that's 24. That's 18 metres. So because it's going to be 40 metres overall, you put a carport in there, which takes up 7 metres of that, and now you've got 11 in here instead of 18. That's sort of 3.5, 4 metres. Suddenly it's only 7 metres from here to here. It's not much. You've got clotheslines and things like that in there.
So it's looking crowded then, doesn't it? It looks
now it's sandwiched together.
No one wants to look at the car park. They want to look out the front or they want to look out the back.
And who wants to look onto? So if you're living in this property here, right, you don't want to look into the cars. Right, so that's number one. So you'd have to, put some sort of screening across here to your vegetation screening, and to make that. And still, it's very close. And if you're upstairs here, you're going to be looking straight onto the roof of that.
Yeah, you'd want to go with a rooftop garden, but then you're talking about an extra $200 a square metre.
No. And the way the code talks about what goes there, it's going to be it's a flat roof.
Yeah.
They don't allow you to do pitched roofs, etc. So it's a tin roof.
But an advantage on a site sloping away from the main road, do you know what I mean? Just a slight cutting at the bottom, and do you know what I mean? Sorry, it will play out. Corner block, any ideas yet?
Corner blocks.
I've never looked at.
Corner blocks
with the corner.
is great because you put this in, you just drive in off the side. But again, relane is better because you can drive 1, 2, 3, 4 cars.
Yeah.
Side, you've actually come in off a driveway and then be able to turn into 4 parking spots.
Yes.
So it uses a lot more area because you've got a driveway and the parking spots. So
you just do it as a basement still and pull it.
But this pulls forward.
Yeah.
So there's another 5 or 6 metres that can be picked up that can move this parcel, this building here, but it depends on your neighbours.
If that was your street, that was your corner.
Yep.
This was the corner there.
Yep.
And that was the main street. This was a sort of small street coming through here. Would you keep the system, no ramp there, and just pull it straight in that way for an internal car park under there? Do you still keep that? Would that still keep it as 1.5?
No, you won't. You
change
won't be able to get in underneath there because you need 12 metres to come around.
Yeah.
It'll be too steep.
Yeah. So there's not much advantage there without shuffling too much.
The only thing, if it's a side street, you pull the whole block forward and you park on grade out the back.
Yeah. That'll be interesting to see once that starts coming up.
Site specific.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it. I mean, look, maybe we should start looking at corner blocks as a standard design.
Yeah. So we found many, and
the other thing is with corner blocks, we can drive in straight into a carport for each property, almost like a garage on a townhouse, something of that nature.
Yeah.
But again, that then now you're talking about designing townhouses as opposed to manor house.
Yeah, which are still under the code, but
Yeah, it's permissible, but it's not what we're
it's
focused
not
on.
what we do.
Because let's face it, how many corner blocks are there compared to how many other blocks are there?
Not ruining the pudding for that. How much more innovation are we looking at when it comes into packages with the markets that we're looking at the moment? How high are we going to raise the smart standard in the homes? Are we having
C-bus and stuff like that,
Yeah.
all options.
Yeah.
All options.
add on to the package?
Yeah. So we'll have our standard designs, which are green and sustainable, and are 7-star NatHERS rating, so they work. If someone wants to put air conditioning in, wants to put a C-bus system in, all those sorts of things, that would be extra. But we do the standard, everything that we can do that's effectively standard now, we would still do.
Yep. That's kind of pretty standard on the market at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is there anything new that you want to see start seeing put in them at the moment? Anything new on the market you've been watching?
To me, solar is pretty much the thing. The cost of energy is going through the roof, and because there is no, because the green energy forms are unreliable, solar and wind, you've got to have an alternative. So to me, if someone's got their own solar system with a battery, then I think that to me is a no-brainer, and that should almost be mandatory on every building nowadays.
Agreed. But I think with basics is really, they'll just keep getting tighter and tighter, and they'll start out.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time.
Yeah,
that's only a matter of time.
You can see the trajectory on it. You look at the basics report and the history over the last, what was it, 2004 when that came out, or something like that.
The problem with that though is it is making building more expensive.
Yeah.
So it just adds another layer of cost, which means less people do, and they'll buy an older house instead of buying a new apartment, that sort of thing. So it just affects affordability. Less and less people can then afford property, and that's a major issue at the moment. Is with what we're doing, we're trying to keep it affordable, but still have that green, sustainable footprint, so that the owner doesn't have the issues attached to the long-term maintenance, but ultimately their tenants are going to be the younger generation who are very concerned about the climate change and the impact that we're having. So having a minimised carbon footprint in what we deliver becomes very, very important for the tenant who will create the wealth for the property owner. So many things that have gone into this that become important. Where are we going to source toilet suites from? So to me, it's an absolute no-brainer that we use. We're going to use Caroma. Caroma, I think it's a 2000. I think they call it. Standardised toilet suite. It's been around in the market for 20 years. Easy to get, replacement parts for it. You go to Bunnings, Plumbers Co-op, Reese Plumbing Supplies. They've all got the standard, supplies for toilet seats, the flushing mechanism. Anything goes wrong, it's very, like you can pop down to the hardware store and pick it up, mitre 10 it, whatever. So that type of thing is critical, and why we would use that as opposed to let's go and get this whiz bang stunning looking thing from Italy. Well, ultimately, if that's what the owner wants, that's fantastic. We'll put that in, but makes no sense. And if a part disappears, or breaks, and if they don't make it or have something in Australia for it, you're in all sorts of trouble. Those square toilets with square toilet seats, you can never find a toilet seat that's the same shape or size, so when you replace one, it looks wrong. So, things of that nature.
Keeping the products and the money in Australia as well. It's good for the country, good for our manufacturing, but also good on carbon footprint for transportation. Yeah. And that's the beauty with the solar and everything. It's coming down in price, but still too high and pushing the price. It's the value of passive design in a building.
Yeah.
Like once we start, as you say, again, site specific, we start looking at northern faces, single glaze on them to be able to capture that northern facing sun, blocked out for the summer, open for the winter. Smaller windows east and west for cross flow and radiation, and it'll be interesting to open it up and have a look. We want a lot of thermal mass on the floor if we can get it. I'm quite happy with exposed concrete naturally.
Yep.
Not that it's good for the carbon footprint, but
not that it's good for the cost of construction either.
Well, a concrete floor you'd have anyway. It's just what would you do how would you go with a polished floor?
I'd do a polished timber floor.
Polished timber?
Yeah, polished timber. So my view is or carpet. Again, these polished concrete, younger generation thinks it's great.
Yeah.
Older generation says it's too cold.
Yeah.
Polished timber, a lot of people like it. A lot of people say it's too noisy.
Mm.
So then you got carpet. So again, different owners are going to want different things in their properties, and ultimately they'll make that decision.
Yeah, it'd be interesting working with the clients individually. We will have what we want sustainably, what we know, thermal mass, passive design, and then it's what they want, and having that conversation. I think something I'll probably be working on is a package of education, trying to keep it as light as possible, but being able to educate people on the benefits of the sustainable side of it all, and leaving it down to them. I think a lot of people, it's just a lack of education. There's a lot of greenwashing through the industry. Everything's green and everything's this and sustainable, and but once they know the basics, I think a lot of people would like that. The value of it's there.
Yep. I mean, for you to be able to sit down at a dinner with friends, family, and people, and to be able to say to them, I created this development. I built a block of 4 units, and I've created a sustainable building, something that can be recycled, almost 100% recycled. The products in it are either sustainable through reforestation or something of that nature, or that can be purely recyclable. That to me is a no-brainer. And to be able to say to people, I did this, would be fantastic. Just the saving and the carbon footprint. Regardless of this argument about climate change, where the man is actually doing that, causing the climate change. The real issue is, we know the climate is changing,
regardless.
and we've got to do something.
Yeah.
So why not do something that's sustainable? Why do we have to cut down, old forest trees? Why don't we just, do the reforestation? We'll take that timber that can be replaced quickly. Why would we use a product that can't be recycled? So, we'll use steel, which can be recycled. So those are the sorts of things that we've got to look at. And on top of that, it's making it cost effective. So everyone wants the sustainable side of things. Everyone wants the green. Look, if you give that to me and it doesn't cost me $1 extra, I'll take it. But as soon as you say, look, we can do this and this and this and this, and this will be an extra this and that'll be an extra that, people disappear. So we've got to have a fundamental that we provide, and then choices for what makes it personal for people.
The beauty about these are they are going to be future-proof. With the 7-star NatHERS ratings, they're going to be ahead of. You said 4 to 5 on that standard new builds, but a lot of these places, they're not new builds. They're long ago. They can be down to 1 to 2 NatHERS ratings. The energy being pumped out there is ridiculous, and we know what's happening with the planet. We know exactly where everything's going, and to follow that, legislation will follow. Simple as that. We know it's a no-brainer to move into this market first and corner it quite quickly
to make a difference.
Yeah.
I'm convinced. I'll take 2.
I like the other 2, is it?
Yeah, you take the other 2. Yeah.